Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Well, it was a big night in boxing. I just watched the fight and just said, fuck it, I'm gonna go to sleep. You know what I mean? I ain't going to do a video about it until the next day, sleep on it, but it might be a little bit longer than I would want it to. We're gonna have to talk about, Vasil Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, right? We had the upset. I think Lopez was a 4-1 favorite. We got an upset. Remind me of something, that happens, when it comes to Lomachenko and others. You know, anybody ever been on stage before? You doing, you presenting song or whatever you're doing, right? And you get up there and you forget your lyrics. Have that ever happened to you? You know what I'm saying? And you got somebody out in the audience that's really jamming to you, know your lyrics and know what's going on. They singing with you and everything. And then all of a sudden you forgetting and they get to there, man, what is that? And they lose their enthusiasm. You know, that's what kind of happens here. You know what I'm saying? When you get guys like Lomachenko and Golovkin, for example, Kovalev to a lesser extent, when they're held as a lot more than they are. Great fighters, right? But Golovkin, the best boxer in the last 25 years. Lomachenko was something we've never seen before. Andre Ward, Tim Bradley are doing the commentary, but Andre Ward had to stand right next to Ted Atlas with Terrence Crawford, who is the pound for pound number one, right with Demetrius Andrade, in my opinion. But what happens? Teddy Atlas tell them right in their face, you guys are not as good as Lomachenko. So I think Andre Ward did a good job of not really, putting it in their face. Well, that guy's not better than me. You know what I mean? But he didn't do it. Actually, Andre Ward had to fight a lot closer than it was. The final scores of the fight with Teofimo Lopez were 116, 112, 119, 109, 117, 111. A whitewash. Unanimous decision. Some say it shouldn't have been that far, the cards. But I do think that that's okay. And I'm telling you why. The same reason I've been saying for a long time now that I don't think Anthony Joshua or Canelo Alvarez are going to fight without fans, right? This fight without fans would have been closer. I mean, with fans, would have been a lot closer. It would have been because especially when the later rounds when Lomachenko was coming on, coming forward a little bit more, landing a few punches, right? But what we tend to do, and when you have a crowd there, when the favorite lands those punches, then we forget the whole rest of the round, right? We forget the whole rest of the round. Boom, 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 one, two, three. Lomachenko hit him. But the rest of the round, he probably weren't winning that round. Even though he looked pretty good and he had positive energy, doesn't necessarily mean he won the round. That's why I think that 100, 119, 109 score is not so outlandish. I would probably go 117, 111 or something like that. But he was even winning the rounds that it would have been normally that he was losing. A crowd means a lot. It means a lot. So it's very, very interesting. I just think that the rejoicing that's going on because Lomachenko lost the fight is not because people really have something against Lomachenko. They have against you. People who exalt him more than he is, man. The dude was 13 or 14 and 1. Lost to Salido already early. And we are just saying put him in the top five somewhere. Not the very best fighter. Not someone we've never seen before. And things like that. And y'all know, it's not about something against certain type of fighters. I'm the first one to say Ukraine bring the pain. I understood Paulie Malignaggi. That's why I was talking about that analogy at the beginning when Paulie Malignaggi was saying, "Hey, Eastern Europe fighters are dominating the sport." I was kind of with him. I just didn't think you dominate the sport, but I was kind of understanding where he was going. But I was that person in there when he went too far, and I was the one in the audience like with him at first, and then damn, you forgot your lyrics because he probably went off. Malignaggi went off the deep end. They ruling the sport. Systematic racism doesn't exist and all of that stuff. And he went off the, but him saying that Eastern Europeans ruled the sport, I can understand him. I'll give you an example of why. The Klitschko's are Eastern European. And like I said before, he would just have to say Ukraine, forget the Eastern European part. The Klitschko's, those are Ukrainians. They ruled heavyweight for 10 years. We have an undisputed cruiserweight champion, Alexander Ozik, Ukraine, right? Me beat everybody in the cruiserweight tournament for WWS in their backyards. And by the way, from those 8 fighters, like 6 of those were Eastern Europeans. The best 3 fighters in light heavyweight. What isn't that? Beterbiev, Wojciech, who just retired, who's Ukrainian, but Beterbiev is Russian, and Bivol is also Russian. But I'm just saying, if you just go in Ukraine or Eastern European, those are the top three divisions, top first heaviest divisions. They were dominated by Eastern Europeans, right? And then you have a Lomachenko there, you have a Daryanchenko here, you have a lot of, so Eastern Europeans are up in the house. Doesn't mean they ruling. But I can understand that. I got nothing against them. It makes for good fights, right? But just not their ruling and system racism doesn't, exist and all that. You went over the deep end. You had me for a minute. Because I tell you, Ukraine is up in there. You could have just said Ukraine. But that's why people are rejoicing because we went too far with this guy, right? He was never in front of Terrence Crawford. This is his third weight division. He's having big problems here. He's 126, 130, now 135. He's having big problems. And listen, good fight. Congratulations to your boy Teofimo Lopez. For this is a takeover. I'm really, really, really feel with his father. His father. I don't know the guy, don't know much of him and stuff like that. Not gonna say that, but just as a father, to bring your son along and bring him to this point has to be a very, very special moment for him too. I mean, not just the fighter, but just to believe in your son, see what he's doing, teaching him things, not getting too much help. This is your vision, and then it's all of a sudden, then it's yours and your son's vision. That's a good journey. You have to just, really, really say that that's just awesome, right? So, I'm gonna go through a few points why, I think that Teofimo Lopez was winning this fight. Listen, he was applying pressure. He won the first part of the fight, 5, 6 rounds easily because there wasn't anything coming back. He was the aggressor. He had an effective jab. He was doing some great counter punches when Lomachenko would do something. His counter uppercut even. He was able to. His foot movement was decent. Lomachenko sidestepped. So would he with a straight right hand coming. He landed more power punches, right? And I just think that he, definitely outpointed the guy. I think he outpointed the guy. So, even though I wasn't hyped about this fight, I knew the significance of the fight. Now, my problem with the fight was because of this franchise title, right? You see a belt over the shoulder of Teofimo Lopez with WBC on it, right? Where all of a sudden, the whole time they kept saying undisputed champion. He's the undisputed. When you talk about the other guy, that his came in the email or in the mail or whatever, that's where the issue comes in. The WBC makes this belt, and just your boy Lomachenko doesn't have to fight Devin Haney. Goes in this fight, he ignores the semifinal with Devin Haney because he was supposed to fight Devin Haney in the semifinal, and Lopez Comey was the other semifinal. Lomachenko was allowed to skip his semifinal because it wasn't Luke Campbell. That wasn't the semifinal. It was supposed to be Devin Haney, his mandatory. So he was able to skip that by asking for this franchise title. So he gets it, and then they still call it undisputed instead of making the world know, yeah, this is unification, which is also great. But we have one more guy out there. And that one more guy out there is not a Semaretta, right? That's something like that. That's a Devin Haney, one of the Negro League fighters with nobody gonna fight. So that's the problem. I don't think, even after watching the fight, neither one of the guys, in my opinion, thinks beats Devin Haney. No slight to Lopez. He probably will, but I hope he fights him for undisputed, and I hope they start calling real undisputed, that he has the real title. That's my issue with the whole fight, right? That's my issue with the whole fight because this franchise title is you're getting away from things. They're just gonna give it to people. Like I say, I think Tyson Fury, as a heavyweight, will get it too when somebody comes in arbitrary. Somebody comes in and say, hey, you have to fight Deontay Wilder. Then WC is just gonna give him a franchise. Say he doesn't have to. That's what's gonna happen, right? And so that's why we have to just that franchise, we have to really just block it out with them saying that. Because the whole fight, that's what was irking me when I kept hearing undisputed, and now it's the one for all the marbles. You just a guy who got the belt, came from mandatory and was avoided, can get ignored. We can literally ignore him, and that's you get an issue. Bottom line, you just get an issue with that. Listen, this was a impressive win because at the end of the day, you can't say Loma didn't look good. Loma showed his skill set and his heart, right? His skill set and his heart, but still lost by a landslide, in my opinion. I mean, not a landslide. It was definitely kind of close, but I don't think, 117, 111, 116, 112, those kind of things, because he's the guy won more rounds, threw more punches, threw more power punches. And I think it's just good because at the end of the day, now, if Lopez comes in here and knocks out their Lomachenko, then what are we saying? Lomachenko, had a long layoff. He's a smaller guy, those kind of things. But now Lomachenko is the technician, best boxer in the business. Let some tell it, and he didn't outbox Lopez. He didn't outbox him. He had spurts where he did, but he really didn't outbox him. So now we know what time it is. It's not like Lomachenko is still not great. He's pretty good. He's a damn good fighter, but he's not the best, the very best out there. So we have to just kind of, pull back on that, right? And the people that's rejoicing, let them, because you went too far with the guy, and you always do. Look at what Golovkin's doing right now. Won't fight anybody hard at all. Did I look at the best middleweight in the last 25 years? Doesn't, does it? That's what they called him. And at the time they called him that, he wasn't even fighting middleweights. He was fighting guys that were junior middleweights and were called up so he can walk them down. Now, but when you say that, you're hating and this and that, and it's not. When you spit facts, because no one wants to hear facts, right? And we keep anointing these people. And all I am saying is this: the champions, everyone gets a number. If this was tennis, we would have just a number. World number one, world number two, and three, four, five, all the way up to 10, 20, just a ranking system, and not with sanctioning bodies. All sanctioning bodies in one ranking system. That means that the champion that has more belts or more title defenses, more formidable opponents and things like that, then he's just number one. That would mean that the number three is your favorite, and he gets ignored all the time. You couldn't say if the number one keeps fighting number 15 and 20 instead of number three, four, five, and stuff like that, people will start getting irked, right? We have to give one champion and the rest get a damn number, and then they would have to fight. We have to figure out how to get these people to fight. If not, this franchise coming in, WBC's just making up stuff as they go. They got to try to make a new weight division. Just be careful with that new heavyweight division. They talk about up to 224 pounds. If you do that, all you're gonna do is make Deontay Wilder's legacy, put it in focus in people's mind, because you got to say, oh, 24, those are guys that are really small to fighting these guys that are 215 pounds, 250 pounds and more. We got to do something about that. Yeah, Deontay Wilder's been knocking those guys out. Deontay Wilder wasn't close to 224 a lot of time. 212, 209 for a fight, 215. The heaviest he ever was 230. The other time he couldn't barely stand up, right? So he's got, he's a small guy. So now you would have to say, oh, well, shoot, Deontay Wilder had the possibility of becoming a three-time champ, a three-division champ. Because you remember something that was also awesome for Deontay Wilder? The baddest dude out there, Alexander Usyk, when he was cruiserweight, people talking about coming up to heavyweight. Everybody was like, well, when he comes up to heavyweight, we're going to get him. Deontay Wilder was like, well, he ain't got to come up to heavyweight. I'll go down there so I can get that cruiserweight undisputed championship to fight him. That's how small Deontay Wilder is. So I'm just saying, make another weight division. All this stuff here, we have to ignore the WBC. We have to focus on, hey, one champion in the division. If Teofimo Lopez is the guy that at least fights Devin Haney now, we don't need no rematch between these guys. Not yet. Fight Devin Haney for the end of the tournament. The winner of that is the very baddest dude at lightweight. I hope that happens. That's my hope. I didn't think so. I thought maybe your boy Lomo would probably fight him first, even though he went somewhere else and got a franchise title. I still thought he might fight him. I think what's going to happen now, Teofimo Lopez is going to give a real big hype. They're going to definitely try to make you forget about Devin Haney, right? I think is what's going to happen. It's not to where no one's going to be saying, hey, that's who you need to fight for Undisputed. I think they're definitely going to be saying more or less, you're undisputed. You don't need to because this franchise title, because they keep mentioning franchise all the time, like we've always had it. Have you noticed? Yeah, and then for the WBC franchise title, and it's like it's been there forever. Like it's not bogus. The thing is only 6 to 8 months old, man. And the reason why it was founded is for some ridiculous reasons, which I don't want to keep going into, but it's that Canelo didn't want to fight his mandatory who was deserving. And he's awesome in Jamal Charlo. So therefore we need to do something. So that's why we founded this. Let's make sure we're clear about that. That's why that exists. It has no merit. So let's stop mentioning it. That's the only bad taste I got in my mouth. Teofimo Lopez got 3 of the damn belts that count. He needs that WBC belt from Devin Haney for Undisputed. That would be awesome. But he needs to enjoy this because at the end of the day, he's beating a top 3 pound for pound. and a number one pound for pound in somebody's eye, in most people's eyes, and he beat him at his own game, right? He did, he was able to outbox him in spurts. So that is pretty awesome. Congratulations to everybody. That was an awesome night of boxing. And let's see what happens going forward. We'll probably readdress that. I say I wasn't hyped, but it was still was a damn good fight. All right, Doma Sports Talk worldwide, and I'm about to hear y'all.